It was the lifestyle in our country to get girls married in a tender age of 9 years onwards. The earlier they are married, the parents are satisfied. In my case, I got married at the age of 19.
This is my grandmother. She was in a forced marriage. So was she. And her too. And all of them. These are survivors of forced marriage. For centuries, women have essentially been stripped of their humanity and down to a tool serving those around them. From 2,000-year-old Roman law giving a man life and death authority over his wife, to recently bereaved Indian widows immolating themselves on the funeral pyre of their dead husband, the oppression of women has manifested itself in several extreme historical and cultural practices, stemming from a deeply entrenched patriarchal culture that encourages and rewards male domination. Of course, times have changed, bringing social attitudes with them, and you can't deny that. But the echo of these primitive ideals can still be heard, often louder in some places than others. This is India. While its women have relatively equal rights when it comes to the legislation of entering and dissolving a marriage, these laws are not followed or enforced in many areas, and such places are where forced marriage festers as a concealed issue that's hard to detect. Forced marriage is defined as a marriage in which one or both people do not or cannot consent, and pressure or abuse, usually from their family, is used to coerce them into marriage.
आपके दोस्त में से कितनियों की शादी हो चुकी है या कि कराने की कोशिश की गई है?
3 জনের বিয়ে ঠিক হয়েছিল, তারপর ওরা বিয়েতে রাজি হয়নি।
आप पे भी क्या आपके जो परिवार वालों से दबाव आया था शादी करने का?
আমার বিয়েতে মত ছিল না। আমার
In 2016, there were an estimated 15.4 million people in forced marriages. 88% of victims were women and girls, and 37% were under 18 at the time. Articles 1 and 2 of the United Nations Convention on the Abolition of Slavery, the Slave Trade, and institutions and practices similar to slavery, akin forced marriage to a modern-day slavery. The FMU, the UK's Forced Marriage Unit, outlines motives behind this coercion, including preventing unsuitable relationships, so with people from different ethnic, cultural, caste, or religious groups, controlling unwanted behavior or promiscuity, ensuring financial assets, preserving family honor, and more.
আমার মামারা বলছে কি যে আমার তো মা বাবা নেই, তার জন্য বিয়েটা দিলে পারে ভালো হয়। ছেলের বাড়ি অনেক একটু বড় লোক আছে তো। দিদাকে বললাম যে আমি পড়াশোনা করব, তারপরে 18 বছর পর আমি বিয়ে করব। দিদা বলল না, তোর ভালোর জন্য এই বিয়েটা দেওয়া হচ্ছে।
Though this issue commonly takes place as a familial tradition, the abduction and forcing of women as young as 14 years old into marriage is a lesser acknowledged yet existing issue in North India. Widespread forced marriage through bride trafficking is a result of several other issues stemming from India's gender issues. There is an excess of eligible men in North India, but not enough local women for them to marry because of sex-selective abortion and female infanticide. However, forced marriages are a prevalent issue in other countries too. Recently, the bride kidnapping of 27-year-old Aizada Kanatbekova in Kyrgyzstan sparked social media outrage after her body was found in an abandoned car 2 days later. Bride kidnapping in Kyrgyzstan is seen by many as an ancient Kyrgyz tradition, though some researchers argue it only became popular in the country decades ago.
Эми биздин менталитетибиз ошондой, бул баш тартуу, бул кыздын бул турмушка чыга албай аткан неме экен деген бир белги болуп калат да, ошондон баш тартылат.
Жөнү, 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып эмес, образга кирип алышты да булар да. 10 жыл чыгаман айып
Practices involving forced marriage are also a major issue in the Western world too.
Common misconception is that child marriage and forced marriage happen in only developing countries far away, that it doesn't happen here in the United States. And unfortunately, because of the laws and policies that we have in place in the US, it's legal here to a large extent and happening here to a much greater extent than most people realize.
Often using cultural or religious reasoning to justify and coerce their victims into marriage, familial or social pressure means these women cannot refuse, or if they do, their lack of consent will be neglected regardless. Even if these victims have the ability to run away, the idea of abandoning their family serves as a mental shackle, trapping the women. But the challenges these victims face extend past the physical and psychological abuse. Forced marriage demonstrates how women are still seen as unequal to men in some parts of the world. These young women are often unable to pursue or continue any higher level education. Such an education is necessary for becoming self-reliant, and stripping them of this opportunity leaves them with the choice of staying with their husband or being homeless.
Think about it, if you're a 16-year-old and you're in an abusive relationship, let's say you try to run away from your abuser. You might get turned away at the local homeless shelter because you're not 18 yet.
But the thing is, this issue is very difficult to detect and prevent, with victims feeling unable to speak out and everything happening behind closed doors with little evidence. Identifying when a marriage is forced is a challenge in itself.